Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Art of the Partnership, where Dan and I are going to explain the value of the partnership and what's in it for all of us. Okay, so Dan, do you want to do your introduction?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Dan. I founded Duga Digital about 3.5 years ago now. And as part of that, I've started to look at the value of partnerships and the value of people in a people-based business. And that's where we really started with our partnership with Piwik PRO, of course, but also other partnerships and other relationships that we have within the industry and the ways that we like to make that work and the ways that we think it's actually valuable to everyone. So, yeah, looking forward to having a chat with Doug about how we do that.
It's going to be cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Doug. Doug at dugadigital.com. It's quite the mouthful. If you say it 3 times into the mirror, I don't appear. That's okay. That's absolutely fine. So I'm delighted to be working with Dan on working at Duga. I think it's a fantastic environment. We've got fantastic clients. Perhaps we should actually explain that we're not imbeciles who can't spell our own name. Dan, do you want to give the Duga background? I think that's helpful.
This happened long before Doug came on board, but also first port of call is that I quite like alliteration, so Duga Digital was quite nice. But I was looking for a word that sat and felt right with what we do and how we deliver things and how we operate. And Duga means to help in Old English Norse, and Old Norse English, and we can then help clients to build. We can help clients to create, we can help clients to develop, we can help partnerships, we can share knowledge, we can bring ourselves to the fore and help ultimately grow businesses ourselves as well, obviously included. We learn a lot every day, but equally trying to circulate and almost become like, water flowing through various different rivers and making sure that we're speaking to a number of different people so that everything works in harmony, rather than it being we are the authority. We're not the authority. We are merely here for a split second of time, and we ultimately, hopefully, give some value back to our clients by ensuring that we can help them deliver the things they want to do.
I never tire of explaining this. I think it's great. I think it provokes a great question. So, history-wise, together we bring collective decades of experience. We won't go into the gory details of exactly how far we've come, but certainly dealing with the full spectrum of industry experience. From big corps. Dan, you were client side as well, weren't you?
Yeah, I've got client side. My favourite analogy here is that I have worked both with a nuclear power station and also a Premiership football club. And I can't think of two more polar opposite distinctions to make, to be honest with you. And so, I've definitely got the full spectrum of startup to global enterprise to, goodness knows what. I mean, I was on a VC rocket with Secret Escapes, and then a global enterprise in TUI, the holiday company, with 70,000 employees. So you end up in a world of vast proportions. So, absolutely. And then we're talking technical. I've got some technical capabilities, but I'm squarely at the feet to do with technical capabilities world.
Oh, shush now. I practice being humble in the mirror, as I say, so that stops me from boasting too much. But this is getting on track now. Okay, so we've worked with a broad range of clients at Duga. Very different maturity levels, but very consistent needs. I think this is something we've recognised in terms of how we work well with clients, and this is going to feed this discussion quite a lot. And of course, Duga is a Piwik PRO partner. Delighted to be part of that ecosystem to give back. I've been talking with the partnership via the Slack channels this morning, actually, asking questions on what is the most Piwikian way of doing certain things. More on that and on. But it's a fantastic ecosystem to be a part of. And this is a lesson that. We all embrace the fact that clients make noises, clients speak to us, and this is something that really, Dan, you wrote a LinkedIn post fairly recently about how much time we dedicate to listening to a client. It was one of the a week in Duga posts that you did. We spend the significant amount of time really listening. How would you define being a good listener for a client? What are you trying to demonstrate there?
I think it's about interest levels, isn't it? It's about intent, and it's about sort of your keenness and your awareness of where you fit in the problem, or not in the problem necessarily, or where you fit in the environment. If you explain things and you try to adopt the same mindset, you start adopting the same jargon, you start listening to the problems that customers having, you can start to say, oh, actually, this is not a fix for that problem, but it is an enabler to lead you towards a decision that can fix that problem. You can start to work backwards. You gain the trust of someone by listening intently to what they're saying, and then trying to help them find a solution. There are 4 H's with a problem in a lot of relationships. Maybe it should just be 3 in this case, because they are: do you want to be heard? Do you want to be held? Do you want to be helped? And the 4th one is: do you want to be humped? But that's only for
it's a family show. Yeah,
it's a family show. But you see, my point is that you need to understand what's happening in order to give the correct response. It's about, by doing that, you end up being liked and you end up being trusted, and you can work through problems together rather than the client feeling like they're on their own still. Yeah,
I mean, to this point, that's going beyond just listening to a client. I think that's what a lot of agencies and partners do, and think that's fair enough. But really understanding the nuanced and multi-layered aspects of clients' challenges, and really getting inside their problems with that level of detail is quite a different. It's quite a different scale of listening, and that comes on to the output there is generating that respecting empathy, and finding the right solution. Now, I can't remember who said it recently, but I read recently, thought leadership by definition is going to be controversial, and I think it's not always the perfect solution for the partner or for the agency. Might not be the perfect solution or the right solution for the client. I think recognizing when that solution has mutual benefit, I think that's what we should be aiming for. That's what the respect and empathy, properly listening to a client. That's where you end up. That's where you're going. Do you agree? Of course you agree.
Well, partnership.
It's in the script.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Partnership is about give and take. Which I said I wasn't going to say, so I'll put some money in a swear jar. But the piece there is, if you listen deep enough, then you'll start to understand where they're coming from. And if it's a valid perspective, which it probably will be from their business perspective, then by all means, let's have that conversation. But you can offer your own perspective, or you can try and strengthen their perspective with your own experience or whatever it might be. So you end up in a world where actually the partnership grows stronger, even just by having the conversation. And that's why communication. We've had a couple of clients recently say to us, "We're not being heard by our agency. We're not having the communication." We had a client last week and say to us, "Oh, we don't know what's happened on the release. We don't know what they've done." And we sort of both sat aghast for a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on here? But it's about communication and making sure that you're both in that together, and it feels like a partnership. Even the feeling of something being there makes it a bit more valid and a bit more real. Not necessarily a contract, the feeling that you get when you work with people, because we're in the services business.
The point you made about the client offering their genuine business problem, offering the details, was honesty one of the H's as well?
It could be. It could be, absolutely, yeah.
Well, I think
maybe it's we're getting on to 5 H's though.
Yeah, I believe in that, and I think the honesty comes with a foundation of respect and empathy and trust. Then you're going to get a much more honest view of the actual difficulties, and really get into the right solution. Okay. I mean, we're talking about a great environment that we have, but recognising it's not always the case. Lots of experience about partners who haven't really gelled, maybe. So how do we recognise when a partner isn't really performing, or how do you recognise when you're not in that situation? It's about asking yourself. I had to use the Beckham meme here. Apologies if it's overused. Is it really possible for one agency to do your SEO, to do your analytics, to do your data science, your CRO, the strategy and the media to the level that you need and expect? And be honest. I think, am I going to be Victoria or David? I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the question I put to anyone listening here today, if you're looking for answers and reassurance, ask your partner how much of what you told comes from just one partner, just one opinion. It's quite often in that incumbent partner's interest to tell you how good they are. Dan, you will have experiences. I mean, do you have a question? Does the partner ever question their own path? Are they saying, like, I'm performing some introspection here, and are you paying increased rates every year on year, and getting those incremental improvements? I
call it marking your own homework.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
It's just kind of like going, or being in a pub quiz and saying, "Oh yeah, we definitely got that one right because we got the first name. That's fine." So it is very much. It is, to your point, Doug. It's in their own best interests. The other piece I have seen, and this is in larger enterprise clients and partners as well, has been, we're beholden to that company because they do this one thing great for us. And then we take other parts of their other service offerings, and to me that's absolutely mad.
Yeah.
Because you're not getting the best you're getting the best in one area, which is absolutely great. I'm really glad that that's true. But I was having a conversation with a client the other day, where they said, we're beholden to them because we've got a contract through our one of our other departments, and we said, actually, we'll just take your services because they're there and because you're on the PSL list, and it's actually easier for us to go that way. And rather than getting the best-in-class possible service offering, they've taken, I'll call it the easy route, and then wondered why they've come down to some subpar outputs, and that's part of it, I guess. The
path of least resistance is exactly. it has its attractions, but I put it to everybody. I think if you can afford one generalist big partner, then you can definitely afford a smaller expert who can actually give you better results. And ultimately, you will be better off for it. You're not putting good money after bad. Your business will be healthier. The relationship with your partner, with business partnership, the relationship will be better as well. It's a much more valid investment. And this was a great example I saw of what we call the large agency conundrum. This guy Alexis put this LinkedIn post out there. He was talking to another board member, and the other board member was saying, I'd never spend £80 an hour or $80 an hour. $80 an hour for someone to just sit there and click buttons. So what he's seeing is a strategy where the large agency will have the senior person, the strategist, for a couple hours on the phone, and then hand over the just hits and buttons to the specialist, who's not a specialist, who's actually a junior. And that results in, you've got seniors on the phone, juniors on the keyboard, and it results in chaos. It's underperformance, and this is generating, client frustration. These are the features of the generalist partner. I think Dan, you got a point of view?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's definitely some partners like this can work this way, but there are definitely examples where I've worked with businesses in the States where they have hired a large agency, and they have waited then 6 weeks for a piece of work to go out to their agency, who then palm it off into an offshore team, who then come back 2 weeks later. There are fixes that need to be made. It gets palmed off again to the offshore team. It comes back. Then the campaign is ready 4, 5, 6 weeks later. And you go, how has that process been allowed to escalate to that point?
Yeah.
And it's because they're putting profits before the company. They're putting the retainer or the agreement that's been made with the client before their own, I guess, job satisfaction and output and quality. And that's the challenge. So in some circumstances, I've definitely seen it work, where having everyone in one room and everyone in one company works because there's a relationship and there's a process that can happen. But until you see it in practice, this is obviously a pretty big disaster zone, and that was a sort of $5 million contract that happened there. That's completely unacceptable to me, and to the client. It should be unacceptable to the client and any client. But there are still deals like this being sold and sold and sold and sold.
I agree. I can see it working. It is a possibility, but it requires a large degree of experience and insight and capability with the leadership. And I think it's a leadership striving for that lowest effective hourly rate to maximise margin. That's the motivation, rather than delivering never sacrificing on quality. This is something we talk about an awful lot. I think it's certainly an indicator. There's the I'll share the deck, and there's the post to the link to the post.
We also put it in our statement of work.
Yeah.
We also say, here's the way of working. Here's who you'll be speaking to. Here's your account management. Here's I think we even use the word, we're not sacrificing on quality. So we actually we have a contingency, which is a very small contingency, to say, here are the projects. If anything overruns, we'd rather use the time that you've allocated in this contingency to make sure the quality is absolutely at its best, rather than having to come back to you and say, we ran out of time, here's something that's unfinished, or here's something that's quite subpar and we're not particularly proud of it. We will put that into statements of work and into contracts to make sure that we commit in the same way that you would expect us to commit.
Well, that's a feature. That confidence of that level of quality is a feature of the average level of experience within our team, within Duga, which is high. So we're not giving we're not stretching juniors and then having to go back and redo the work again that we should have done anyway, because we did do it anyway, because we said, look, there is nothing we won't pick up. We'll get our hands dirty. We'll get on with it. The cause of this kind of large agency conundrum. Let's talk about founders. You're a founder. Let's talk about you. Okay, here's my take on it. Right. As a relative newcomer to Duga, I joined in April. I see a founder, Dan, running his ship, running this vessel with passion, right? And Dan, most people will say this, you are a welcome and refreshing change from the typical senior vice president who's driven by different motivations. What is your driver? How do you constantly stoke the fire and really focus on delivery day in, day out? Because your energy, where do you get the energy from?
I think it's.
How much is having a 5-month-old daughter keeping you up?
Well, yeah, that probably is
okay.
Why I don't sleep much, so I get more than the average person done in a day because my day is that much longer than the average person's. But it's mostly around our abilities, knowing that we've got capabilities that we can bring to clients. We've got great partners like Piwik PRO who we want to say, here, there are alternatives in the market to your large corps like Google or Adobe. We know that the quality products can take us a lot further. I think the idea of having seen client side and agency side in my previous career so far, I've known that there have been gaps. I know that there hasn't been the focus that there needs to be on digital analytics. I've worked for other major agencies, and they have focused very much on the spend and the marketing side and making sure that we're getting our affiliate data or whatever it might be, or our spend with Google and Facebook, so we get the free lunches and things like that. So there is a passion to do things right and to collect the right data and make sure that decisions are powered in the right way. I mean, there's obviously all the privacy and ethics and everything else that's coming along.
That's foundation. That's a default.
Foundational pieces.
Yeah.
But the building blocks get you to a point of let's make real change happen in the business. And so much of digital commerce has come a long way. Everything else like that, the direction of the market is growing year on year to the point where we become fundamental to that. And the investment any business is making in their website needs to be reflected in how well they can how well they can articulate how it's performing.
It's seeing something tangible, actually being part of something, giving a damn. Founders, the smaller specialist partners, by definition, because they are exercising their passion, because they are very much, as you say, an integral, real part of a business. Then we can. We can really make a difference. So, here's the first takeaway from anyone who's still listening. It's great that you're still here. Your partner should go above and beyond to understand your business. Look for that. Okay, your ideal partner is going to ask you, Dan, you'll recognise this one. Your ideal partner is going to ask you if you want the documentation in your format rather than the partner's format. Make that step. Yeah, that's a small step that makes a heck of a difference. Do you want me to write the document output, the slides with your branding, or do you want to have to copy and paste? Your best partner will, I suggest, find the best mutual communication cadence. They'll talk at your pace as frequently or as infrequently as you want, and they'll ask your needs. What are your blockers? What are your challenges? What are your hopes? What does your success look like? And that's what the solution has to include, references to all of these ingredients. Otherwise, it's not going to fit.
Got to show interest. They've got to show interest in making sure that you are getting the maximum from them, and they've got to show the fact that they are understanding of the situation that you find yourself in within your business. i.e., they have to understand, if they look above you, who's managing that? How do you need to look good to your superiors? How does that need to work in a decision-making process that goes on a daily basis? If there's a trading call on a Monday, what needs to happen then? They need to sort of embed themselves as much as possible. Obviously, it's not possible to do that as a third party completely, but as much as possible, get under the hood and say, we understand this business to the point that we can make a difference.
I reckon there's some signals here. We've experienced in this career and previous careers, anybody who's ever bought a license for a piece of software from big vendor, after the ink is dry, just observe the frequency of proactive outreach from that vendor, from that partner who you bought it from. Listening means really understanding a client. What happens? You can understand. Sorry, you can see when a partner really understands the issue, the heart of the issue. If you challenge their reasoning, if they never even challenge themselves or explain the options or how they arrived at a decision, that's a strong signal that there is a lack of understanding. And look out for these empathetic behavioural signals. That's going to show maturity in the partner as well as the client. Agencies and partners will always talk about, we're going to grow your maturity. How's their maturity looking? How's the partner actually functioning? Are they looking for that ideal solution, and are they prepared to make the right choice, which may be a difficult one, or are they just going to go chasing their own dollars? All right. If you see that large headcount, covering a wide variety of skills, I suggest that those skills are going to be, by definition, diluted, and you're going to get mediocrity. It's only the specialists, it's the smaller agencies, the smaller partners, those more dedicated partners that are going to deliver that excellence, that specialist skill that you actually need. Would you fly with someone who claims to have expertise in all three areas here? No. You're going to walk away, right? You're going to go chasing the right skill set. You actually need three experts, and recognize it as soon as you possibly can. As
I know that you are an airline pilot, though.
No, not an airline pilot. No. Hobbyist at best.
You have flown. I'm not sure I trust you with the scalpel or the contract, maybe.
No, I will perform woodworking engineering, but no wet work. No, not my deal. Let's talk about more. Let's not focus on the negativity. I think having a chat about making that critical difference. What does that perfect partner actually do? Let's play a bit of that old game of snog, marry, avoid. Okay. what are you looking for? All right, what do you think clients are looking for? Put yourself in the client shoes. What are the essential qualities you're looking for in a Piwik Pro partner?
I think we've got to have some relevant expertise.
Well, yeah.
We've got to understand what we're dealing with, and we've got to be very clear that they're making an informed decision when they're saying, right, here's the lay of the land, basically. So things like Piwik Pro certs. So let's get some certifications, let's get some understanding of the platform, understanding of how this platform differs to the other market vendors and what you can do. And be confident that they have their ability. So ask them for them. Reputation. So asking around the market. You and I are both very lucky people. We've got fantastic networks. Other partners should have that same piece.
It's worthwhile being noisy. Yeah, so celebrating those success stories are going to pay dividends, not just for you, the partner, but for clients, for anybody who wants to engage with you as well. Absolutely.
Yeah. And the final thing I think I would recommend be, is there industry vertical experience? Now, I wrote about this as well a while ago because clients said, yeah, have you worked in this industry before, or who have you worked with before? Can we get a read on you? And it's an interesting one. I think there's a confidence factor that comes alongside that. I think there's a trust factor. I think there's you understand our business or our motivations or how we make money, that so we don't have to go over old ground. And in a Piwik Pro partner, that's probably right as well. I think it's probably a good question for any B2B.
Yeah, and I think it's an inevitable question given the flexibility and versatility of the platform. It's going to be appropriate in so many different industry verticals. So just to say you've got the creds, just to say you've done the training, it's a good start. But to say that you've been active with the platform in a certain vertical, I think that's absolutely essential there. Softer skills, we've done the snog. Now we're looking for that longer term relationship. We're going to marry this partner in a business sense. What are you looking for there?
I think it's kind of what we talked about before in terms of the culture side of things and making sure that they don't sort of try and, what does it look like after the license has been sold? How does that honeymoon period go? It's about the communication skills. So like we mentioned before, we've talked with other clients where there's been no documentation, there's been no sort of clarity. It's being a good citizen. So making sure that everyone's got an understanding of what's happened and why, and everyone who's needed to has been in the loop, and you've got that trust, that feeling of what's happening, or at least if you don't know what's happening, then there are people around you who have been informed and you have been sort of collectively taken on that path. If you feel like it's a gut feeling, I don't know if you've heard of thin slicing, Malcolm Gladwell. He basically says your decision is basically made in the first 10 seconds after you hear something. You can go and rationalise, you can go and read up, you can go and do your research and everything else. Probably most likely coming back to that initial 10-second decision. So it's things like a track record and how that works as well.
Well, to that point, if you within 10 seconds, if you're getting a negative signal, what sort of vibe causes that negative signal? How are you going to say, walk away already?
I think it's kind of what we talked about before in terms of they're pushing their own agenda. They're not necessarily hearing what you're saying.
Yeah.
They might be sort of sitting there listening, but you can tell that there's not been that actual empathy. It's not been the sympathetic conversation or the conversation that you were expecting to have. And from the vast majority of it, it's who am I going to be working with on a day-to-day basis? Can I speak with them? Can we commit to that team? Any big changes in team, any big changes in quality, any changes in contract, anything that sort of doesn't rub the right way. If they haven't got a set process for a lot of these pieces, it's quite an interesting and difficult conversation because the client should be feeling at ease all the way through. They should be taken on this journey.
So just ranking these, I wanted to put a colourful graph in. Notice I put cost down the bottom there. I think, and that's not to say go for the cheapest partner. That's to say rank their communication skills and the quality of the culture above what their costs are. It's part of the success recipe. Knowing which ingredients, but knowing how much of which ingredient is really important. It's about choosing the best expert you can afford, And I emphasise here, it's not about choosing the cheapest. You wouldn't go and hire the cheapest lawyer. The cheapest surgeon may not be the best choice. You've already said this. I totally agree. It's the ways of working. It's ways of working that work for you. It's not the tail wagging the dog. I think that's important. And then, that quality of the relationship and the length of the relationship. We've had clients who span multiple years, heading towards a decade in terms of business relationships. Across different agencies, across different partnerships. But those relationships last and matter, and it's a key factor there. But, and here we're going for another controversial topic here. Partnerships aren't always the right way to go. And this again is an experience when to in-house, when not to partner. I'm not going to force partnerships on people, not permanent long-term partnerships. If you're looking for autonomy, if you have sufficient levels of maturity and competency, technical competency, business competency, if it's the right commercial reason and it fits with your strategic goals, you don't necessarily have to partner. I experienced this in a previous life where I was working with music streaming service, begins with S and ends in Spotify. You may have heard of them. That team was awesome. I worked. I had great conversations with that team, and they were by far and away the most excellent client team I've ever worked with. But they didn't have the need for the agency. They didn't get value from that input. So walk away. That's another ingredient in the recipe for success. In pilot terms, Dan, we're on the final approach here. So let's establish that glide slope and bring this one into land, and really summarise these takeaways. Not all partners are equal. Not all requirements are equal. Not all clients need the same level of attention. But choosing the most expert you can afford, I'm going to emphasise that one. Anything you want to say around one size does not fit all? First takeaway. What's your shout?
I think it's what it says on the tin. Really, it's matching on fit, not necessarily matching on. Yeah. I've been thrown this recommendation, or I've been thrown this person here, or anything like that. You have to feel comfortable with what you sign up to, and also the partner does too. Yep. And they should have as much skin in the game as you do, and to make sure that they are fundamentally fulfilling what you need from them. Otherwise, it's not going to work either way.
And this is underlining something you said previously as well, is really never sacrificing on quality. Don't accept mediocrity.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you own it in-house, or if you're partnering with anyone, you've got to feel comfortable that you're getting the absolute best that you can for whatever you're affording. It must be the absolute best that you can. Not
letting them mark their own homework, it comes back to that again. And if you do need autonomy for a particular part of the business, if you've got the competency, you want to protect your intellectual property, if you've got the bandwidth, then, invest in partnership, but invest in your own teams as well. And that was a smooth, buttery landing. I think we brought that one in. I think there's a lot of wisdom, experience, insight, advice. Make the most of your partners, and Piwik PRO, excellent partner ecosystem. Proud to be part of it.
Absolutely, we're grateful.
Dan, thanks. That was awesome.
That was good fun. I enjoyed it.